Okay, we're going to go over how to document a COVID-19 exposure in the NFORS app. So if you don't have the NFORS app yet, we'll just briefly go over how you might install it from the iPhone App Store, NFORS. So it's the first one that comes up. I already have it installed, the NFORS Career Diary. So we'll just open it. So firstly, we'll go over what to do if the exposure was at an incident. So if we click on the bottom, Career Diary, and then My Incidents, it will just bring up the incidents that I was physically on. Unlike if we had clicked the Incidents button on the bottom, and it would give all the incidents in the New Rochelle Fire Department. So let's say I had a COVID exposure.
I would click the incident from the list where I was exposed. Here we'll just pick one at random to show how it works.
And on the bottom, we're going to add new exposure, the top orange button. We'll fill in some information about the call, general information. This part is generic call information not related to COVID, so I'm just selecting and hitting next. So this was an incident response. EMS. And I'm zipping through these screens because they're not COVID related specifically, but you can, take your time and it's pretty straightforward as you go through it. So now this is where it gets to be COVID related. So what specific type of EMS exposure did you experience? We're going to click biological, and then some choices are going to open up on the bottom. And we're going to select contagious emergency COVID-19. Now we're going to fill out our PPE, gloves, mask, what type of mask used on the bottom here. If you click the pencil, you can pick. So presumably we will have had our half mask APR. That's our red bag mask, eye protection goggles, fluid resistant clothing, and disposable clothing.
We would select that depending on whether we reused or threw away our suit.
Next, and then the rest of these are going to be generic choices that you would have at any EMS or fire call. Was your PPE dirty before the response? No. Was it dirty after the response? Let's say yes. And then which parts were dirty after the response? We'll just pick whatever here. So now, up until now, it hasn't saved anything. So if you want to do a practice one, you can do what I just did for any call that's in your career diary. If I click Save and Review Exposure, this orange button in the middle of the screen, it would save, but instead I'm going to click the X on the top left there, and it's going to bring me back to this main screen. The other thing we'll just look at briefly is what if it was not on a call? So instead of going to Career Diary and looking up the incidents, we're going to click the large plus button on the bottom of the screen. We're going to click Exposure in the middle with the fire extinguisher. And now we're going to go through just some initial options that we didn't have to go through on the call because they were pre-selected. New Rochelle Fire Department. Was it at an incident? In this case, we're going to click No. Enter the address where your exposure occurred. You would click in the box here. Why don't we give it a shot? Let's say it occurred at the firehouse. Stratton Road. Okay, there we go. It came up. So I can select it from the list. Done. And now we're going to go to next. Time and date. Next. Now I don't know if you can tell, but this is where we had started when we entered it on an incident. So these are going to start to be the same questions. Were you asleep at the time of the alarm? Were you exposed to diesel exhaust? Anything additional? Next. And now this is where we're going to choose something different. So what type of incident did you experience? Instead of incident response, we'll say in station. And then we're going to go to EMS. And then these are the same generic EMS ones as before. So we'll just say other. Let's just say a citizen, I don't know, citizen walked off the street or something. And then here's where we go to biological, and then the COVID box pops up, and it's the same from there. So, if you haven't installed the NFORS app, definitely install it. And as we went over before, if you want to practice and put in a few sample exposures just to see how it works, as long as you don't click that final save and review button, you'll be fine. And just remember, there will be one screen that looks like you're saving something with a check mark on it, but you're not actually saving anything. As long as you hit the X in the top left corner at the end, before you hit save and review, there'll be no record of anything you typed in.